So here's my question. What happened, Canada? I mean, we take a look at what happened last night during the election, and I think a lot of people are surprised. Listen, in all fairness, there's, a fair number of people that are very happy about the election results. I do want to ask my U.S. followers, because it's, always nice to hear a narrative from the U.S. What do you think of Canada's election and the outcome? A lot of people do say, hey, Todd, why do you care what the U.S.? Because there are neighbors, there are friends, there are family, and I do like to know, the different opinions. But I do want to know your opinion, because to me, this is, I'm not going to call it staggering. Surprising would be more the case. What really did happen? I mean, the run up to this election, it was a quick snap election by Mark Carney. He wanted to turn around and get through this. Now, remember, one of the important things that we can look at as Canadians is that the Liberal government has a minority mandate. So it's not a majority, which doesn't give them free wheel power. The NDP almost lost party status. I mean, their numbers dropped. Even the Bloc dropped. A lot of this stuff was picked up by the Liberals as well as, the Conservatives. Conservatives actually had a better showing this election than last. But when we take a look at this entire thing, what happened? I know everybody's going to have an opinion where it comes down to, the pro-liberals will say, oh, Carney's the man for the job to fight Trump. Do we really have a fight with Trump? I mean, I always mention this because the tariffs have been on and off and on again, on and on and off again. It's been an interesting kind of, cycle that we've seen over the last little while. So did the only reason why Canadians vote Mark Carney to, be the prime minister is because he can fight Donald Trump? Well, Donald Trump's not somebody you fight, you negotiate. And when you concede a little, you get a lot. So again, we'll wait to see what Mr. Carney does and his government. But where is this leadership going to take Canada? They're now on their fourth mandate as a party. And again, Canada is where it is because of the Liberal government at this point. Some people are actually pro this and think that we're in great shape. I think one of the things that I noticed the most about this election was the fact that we had polar opposite opinions. You could see the hype around Pierre Poilievre and how everybody was excited about change, but not enough. Now, we can talk about, potential election tampering. There was all sorts of things that were kind of weird about this one. And when we take a look at even in Pierre's riding where he lost, how many candidates were up for election in his riding? A massive number. So was there confusion built into this? I don't know, because you know what? It's the morning after, and a lot of people are going to be sitting there pretty much crying in their coffee, and some people are going to be cheering. I've already been through the office, and, a lot of people are saying, so what do you think? I don't know what to think. I'd love to know what you think about this, because in the end, Canada is still going to be Canada. You know what? No matter what, Canadians, each and every one of us, we will continue to work hard. We need to focus on the most important things in our lives, which I always believe is, family, children, your neighbors, the next gen. But, did it get harder? I don't know. I think we're going to find out. But again, hopefully, we've got enough people out there that will continue to talk about what's happening politically. I'm not going to sit there and rant about Carney at this point, because there's a great deal of people that decided that he was their choice. You're entitled to your choice. That's part of being in a democratic society, that we're allowed to make a choice. Do I think your choice is right? Well, it's got to be for you. Because I can tell you that if I tell you my choice, we're not always going to agree. But again, that's my right. Am I happy about the election results? No, not necessarily. In fact, not at all. But that doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong, and you making your choice doesn't make you right or wrong. But the one thing that we need to know that is right is, as Canadians, it doesn't matter your party affiliation. You should be watching out for Canadians. And that's really important. You know what? We've been so divided in this election. I think one of the greatest things that needs to happen is all Canadians should start watching out for Canadians. You know what? If you're a liberal, NDP, Bloc, Green one, but if you're any of those people, you're still a Canadian, aren't you? And I mean, really, isn't that what this should be about? Should an election not be about bringing, the country together? Well, we look south of the border and everybody thinks it's a great threat, but at least there's a leader there trying to get the country together on the same page. They had huge diversity as well. Well, I think it's time that we set aside our differences and start focusing on what truly matters. As a Canadian, I think it's really important that we do this. Again, I'd love to hear your comments on this. And most importantly, as I always say, as I wrap things up, make sure you're watching out for, yourself, of course. You need to be healthy and, hardworking, tax-paying Canadians. Watch out for your family, of course, your children, and the next gen. I think that's going to be really important in our future as Canadians. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Todd Z. Slater.